Anthony Albanese thought recognizing Palestine would make him look compassionate, thought the activist marches, the media applause, the international headlines would protect him. But then Pauline Hanson sat down on live television and detonated Labor's entire narrative in under 10 minutes. She went after Palestine recognition, then immigration, then energy prices, then the collapsing economy. And suddenly, this was not just an interview anymore. It was a political ambush, because Hanson asked the question Labor keeps running from. If Australians cannot afford rent, power bills, or groceries, why is this government obsessed with impressing the rest of the world? Watch what happened next.
That the kids are starving, people are starving, when actually Israel Netanyahu has actually said they've sent in 2 million tonnes of food already. This is supposed to be their enemy. These are supposed to be the people that want to see the death of them, and it's genocide where they're overlooking and making sure that food gets in there. And they denied the Israelis to actually act as protection to make sure the food got there. But the Hamas are actually taking the food, selling it on the black market. They're going to use their own people as pawns in all this for their own, gain, what they want. Yet they are a terrorist organisation. You cannot give them the authority of having a state. And my understanding, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, they've applied for it 4 times already to be a state. They have commented they don't want it unless they can actually move into Israel. They want to take it over, destroy Israel. It is not going to work. This is where Albanese is so pathetic in going along with Macron and the Canadians and the UK president, all the rest of it, a bunch of bleeding hearts that are not looking at the true facts and how to actually deal with this situation and disregarding Israel. We have no place in saying this. Where is Israel? And where are they saying this?
Yeah, it's a shocking turn of events. And of course, every time a 2-state solution has been proffered to the Palestinian Authority, they've rejected it. So here we go again. I don't know whether you got to see my little exchange with GPT on our renewable energy transition, but it just confirmed the facts that you and I and most Australians know, that is the renewable transition is undermining reliability, pushing prices up, and will not benefit the global climate one iota.
Chris, I've been talking about this for years, and actually the research that I've had and listening to Malcolm Roberts, who has the credentials to actually talk with authority on this, he's been studying it for years, even before he got into Parliament. It's been an absolute scam. Why the hell are we giving carbon credits for land that we're already under trees and there? Why are we offsetting our carbon emissions when we already have the resources there, but we're actually paying people to offset again? It's ridiculous. I'm actually doing research into this as well at the moment and to put forward policy. What I've found out today is in 23-24, 1,400 manufacturing companies became insolvent. That's apart from the 30,000 small businesses that also went under. So this is destroying industries, and I've said this all along. It's nothing but a scam. The true facts and figures need to come out, but people need to wake up out there and listen to what's being told. And tell me, where have the oceans risen to actually flood the coastline? Why do we have those people who are still buying properties on the ocean fronts? Tell me that, if they think that the world's coming to an end. Yeah. And Flannery, don't get me started on him.
Don't get me started on Flannery. Yeah, well, I'll keep showing those grabs of him saying it'll never rain again. We never should tire of showing it. Yes. Just very quickly, one other topic I've got to get your thoughts on. The announcement this week that the government's going to increase the overseas student intake by 25,000 people. This is the same government that earlier this year, before the election, said it was going to reduce immigration.
It won't work. They won't do it because they're going to increase the numbers. Apart from the students coming in, Chris, you've got all their families and they can bring them out as well. So that's extra to the country. These foreign students export around about, in the 23-24 figures, about 10 billion plus. I've read even 13 billion plus the money that they make here, they send back to their own countries. So that's money we're losing here as well. They take up about 40% of the accommodation in the cities in Sydney and Melbourne. So they are not an asset to us. And a lot of them, the foreign students, get ABNs. They're actually working jobs that they don't clear the tax they make, and they're actually out here scamming the system to make money to send back home, using it as they're here for educational purposes.
I'm certain we'll come back to this population debate. Thanks for joining us, Pauline. I appreciate it.
Pauline Hanson just went completely nuclear on Anthony Albanese, and honestly, this may be one of the most politically damaging interviews Labour has faced in months. Because what started as a discussion about recognizing Palestine turned into a full-scale demolition of Labour's entire agenda. Immigration, energy, cost of living, climate policy, national identity. Hanson unloaded on all of it, and Labour had absolutely no answer. And notice what happened right at the start. Chris asked the most basic question imaginable. Does Albanese actually have a mandate from Australians to recognize Palestine? Not activists. Not protesters on bridges. Australians. And immediately Hanson went straight for the throat. She called the move ridiculous. Said Albanese has spent years acting like a bleeding heart while ignoring reality on the ground. And then came the line that completely exposed the problem with Labour's position. Where is Israel in this conversation? That was the question, the one nobody in government seems willing to answer. Because according to Hanson, Labour is rushing headfirst into a global political trend without even considering the consequences. She accused Hamas of stealing aid, selling food on the black market, and using civilians as pawns while Western leaders posture for headlines and applause. And whether people agree with her or not, the reason this exchange is exploding online is because she said out loud what millions of Australians are already thinking. Why is the Albanese government so desperate to impress international activists while ordinary Australians are drowning under inflation, housing shortages, and collapsing infrastructure? Then the conversation shifted to renewable energy, and this is where Labour's problems got even worse. Hanson called the entire transition a scam. Not inefficient, not flawed, a scam. She pointed to collapsing manufacturing industries, tens of thousands of small businesses going under, rising power prices, and carbon credit schemes that even many economists struggle to explain properly. And again, Labour had no response because the reality is Australians are paying more for electricity while being told everything is somehow getting better. 200 manufacturing companies insolvent, 30,000 small businesses gone, energy prices climbing, reliability dropping, and Labour still standing there pretending this is all part of some glorious transition. Hanson practically laughed at the contradiction. Oceanfront properties still selling for millions while politicians scream that coastlines are disappearing. Australians being told to sacrifice more while elites continue living exactly the same way they always have. And once again, Labour's messaging completely falls apart under basic scrutiny. They say they want to reduce pressure on housing. Then they increase migration. They say they care about struggling Australians. Then they make life more expensive through energy policies. They say they want stability in the Middle East. Then they rush into symbolic recognition fights that could inflame tensions even further. This interview exposed something much bigger than Pauline Hanson being angry. It exposed a government that increasingly looks disconnected from the people it claims to represent. Because while Albanese chases applause from activists, international summits, and social media progressives, ordinary Australians are asking a much simpler question. Who exactly is looking after us? And Labour still does not seem to have an answer.